It's okay, it's alright, won't be waiting for long.
One more time for you. What's up? Thanks for coming back through. We're gonna end the year off on one that I am super. Let me clean this up. Oh my god. Can't be showing y'all some dirty kicks. The hell am I doing? Woo! When it first dropped, this one got a lot of hate because people were saying it didn't know what it was. It wasn't like the previous model. Well, we're going to get into that because I think quite a few runners are just elitists. And that's not derogatory. At least I'm not meaning it to be. But I do think that they view it through a very myopic lens, and they often exclude the breadth of people who will be using shoes and working in them functionally, thinking that only their use is the right use. I'm like, come on, y'all. You got to understand. There's billions of people on this planet, and shoes have to be at least a little bit democratic. There are going to be some overlap. There are going to be some specialty shoes. Of course, we don't walk around wearing track spikes all day. But that's what some of those running shoes are. Padded track spikes. I need a little more function. I don't want to have to buy 10 different shoes to get some tempo, some speed, some long run, some easy run. All right, cool. That's what you're into, do you. But the utility of some shoes just has to be a little bit wider. And I think that's where this shoe sits. Today, let's talk about the Nike Pegasus Turbo Nature Next Percent. I hear you, dog. Word. So, for real, this shoe to me was better than expected. I had listened to the reviews and I had heard a lot of negatives about it, but I understand where this shoe sits. Now, if we're comparing to the beloved Peg Turbo 1, where Zoom X came to us without a plate during the time of, Zoom Flies and those kind of shoes that dropped, 2017, 2018. This one, yeah, the Peg Turbo is crazy, especially in this colorway. Like, come on. It's legendary. Legendary. It's beloved for a reason. I kept this original model for a reason. I didn't buy any other colors for a reason. But when trying to compare to this shoe, there were some drawbacks. This shoe had very little structure. This shoe was all over the place. But we had never felt anything like this. So now you're dreaming about this shoe, but you love the structure and use of this shoe. So you're putting this shoe to the firing squad because it's trying to give you everything we've been talking about. Nah. There's a few differences that make this shoe, I think, uniquely special. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but I do appreciate what they were going for. There are some drawbacks, I will admit, but it's definitely not a burn it at the stake type of thing. So let's get into the Peg Turbo Nature Next Percent. I think I got that title right. All the words are right, but they might be in a different order. So what? So much of the history of Zoom X and the Zoom Turbo is also tied to the Zoom Tempo. The Zoom Tempo is the shoe that came in between to replace the Peg Turbo line. It didn't go over the way that I think they thought it might. And so a lot of these same features that came here went here, and now they're back. So these are all a transition point in getting to this. You know how we do upper, midsole, outsole. We might be referencing the Peg Turbo 1 a couple times. The one shoe I don't have a Peg Turbo 2. I'm dealing with recycling, carbon footprint, and what a lot of brands and companies are trying to reduce. But going forward, let's just call it the Peg Turbo 3. Now, is it the 3? It will be the Peg Turbo 3, right? Yeah. Anyway, upper. This upper is far more structured than is usual in any other Pegasus Turbo, or any other Pegasus, really. It is a knit, but like a knit in name only, because this is a pretty stout upper. There's no stretch to it. There's very little play. You know, it's more traditionally padded around the collar. The stitching around the collar is pretty unique. There's no folded seams. It's a flat seam. The tongue is not just gusseted. It is stitched to the sidewall. So it's a little tough to get on. You know, I'm going to have to wet it, stretch it, wear it a lot to get it to play. But other than that, the structure is kind of welcome. You know, your Ultra Boost, your other knit shoes, they kind of get all over the place. And it was unique to feel that structure. So it wasn't as friendly, even as this sort of double layered mesh that the original had. Funny enough, though, that flywire inside is kind of mimicked on this one. So they know their audience. They were coming back to it. Pull tab is knit, just the tongue folded over. I like considered designs like that. I took this one out for a little bit of a workout, and then we had some decent weather here in the Midwest, so we took our daughter to the zoo for a quick walk around. Temps were in the 40s, so we bundled up and it was a good time. Walked about 2 miles around the zoo. Was loving it. Comfort level felt very much like an Ultra Boost 2122, if I'm being honest. The profile's a little bit flatter, not as much rise in that heel, but very similar. Lacing system is basic, straightforward. But again, I'm not even really sure how much that helps with that gusseted tongue that's stuck down. Like, that is one piece that I think Nike really messed up on. Gusseted tongue, yes. Stitched down, inflexible, no. Why? Why would you do that to us, Nike? Come on now. You had something good going, but you did that to us. Upper's basic, functional, feels like a Pegasus outside of that tongue. I'm a harp on that. Let's get into the midsole, because that seems to be what all the hubbub is about. The midsole is not a one piece of Zoom X. The Zoom X in the Turbo 1 and Turbo 2, one piece. There it is right on the shoe. I should have just been reading it like a cue card. The Pegasus Turbo Next Nature, aka the Peg Turbo 3. They did a couple things to this to, I think, utilize a sort of faux rocker. I can understand that people are a little bit upset because that Nature Turbo, where they've crushed up recycled Zoom, it's not by itself the softest. There's been models of even the Alpha Fly where people have noticed a difference, and I can tell that a uniform piece is going to be different than, I think you could even crush it and get a different feeling from it. But a recycled piece of Zoom crushed and reinserted has lost its buoyancy. It's lost that spark. Now, it's still a good cushioning, but it's lost its spark. So, that I can understand where people were a little bit disgruntled if they were expecting Zoom X, original Zoom X. But this seems to have a Zoom X core. And then Here, check this out. You can see it because I don't know why this model's a little discolored. I think that's the glue. I think you're going to get a little discoloration. That's the nature part. You just got to be used to that. But look really closely. Okay. So you see this foam here, which is I think that new Nike SR4 or whatnot. It's softer than React, but it's not quite Zoom. Very nice. Then right here, you can see an uncrushed layer of Zoom that would be just under the board last or the Strobel board. Then here in the core is the crushed Zoom. And you can tell that. You can see it very, very clearly. There is a line. Oh, let's get you in there. There's a line where the crushed recycled Zoom X is married to a very thin layer of regular Zoom X sandwiched to the SR4 underneath. That's interesting. Now, I think through the marketing, maybe they could have gotten the word out a little bit better about that. I can see why some purists would be disgruntled by it. I don't think it's enough to crucify this shoe, but I can understand where they're coming from. For my purposes of not holding this to the standard of anything alpha, anything Zoom Fly, I think this performs well in line with Peg Turbo 1, Peg Turbo 2. I think it matches. I think it fits in comfort-wise. I do think it fits into the line. I think that people have become so used to the squish factor that they're not realizing that so many others need ground feel. We need responsiveness. The brands are even doing this. They're removing plates from shoes. They're offering a tier just below carbon plated, nylon plated, overstacked. It was a reaction. It was a trend. It was trendy. And then it came back down. So now even Adidas with their new SL that they dropped, they have a couple of other models where their rods aren't as drastically curved, a little slimmer. Not all runners want overstacked super plush cushioning. They need performance. They need ground feel. They need responsiveness. A quicker, snappier shoe. And at the price point, in the 150s, 160 range US, this is fantastic. The original was higher than that, I believe. I think this is going to get a lot of play if the stock is available. Now, that's the thing. I got this as a gift during a photo shoot in which they provided some shoes. I was stunned that they actually had it. So I had to review it for you. I was super stoked to get it because I've been wanting to review it, been wanting to try it. I originally wanted the gray colorway, but I gotta say, there's that sort of white, red, white, blue is kind of grayish. I wanted that colorway. But I gotta say, this black and purple is kind of fire. There is one thing that I wish they didn't do. These extra seams, there are many times where I wear my shoes without socks because socks make my feet slip. This seam on top bothers the hell out of me. And I see what they're doing, a little bit of a legacy play with the stripe that came with the others that was reminiscent of the Zoom Mylar, which please come out with the original Zoom Mylar. I know they're doing colorways attached to the Alpha and the Zoom, but I really want a Zoom Mylar. Anyway, that stripe, they could have just painted it, but they stitched it. Ah, man, rubs my toes the wrong way. So, just little things that I'm complaining about. Not a big deal, not a big deal. Nike, you got one. I'm hoping for some different colorways. Outsole looks very much like the original Zoom Fly, 4%, and so on. So they've continued that trend of the shape of the outsole pattern. It's a waffle pattern, but it's directional. So it kind of plays with the way the foot strikes. Really grippy. Also recycled. You can tell by the speckles. Nike's good for that. So yeah, they got a good one on their hands. I know it didn't satisfy everyone, but not at all a bad shoe. I think it's economical. I think that it is versatile. And again, if the stock is there, maybe even on sale, I think you're going to see a lot more of these on people's feet than the elite runners would want to admit. And Nike, like let me holler at you a bit. Can we stop with the Crush Zoom insoles? If you're not going to make them substantial enough to make a difference, then don't do it. I know it's lightweight and performance, but if this was double stacked, that would make a difference. But this little thin layer isn't doing anything, and then they're glued in, so you can't easily get them out without damaging either the insole or the shoe. Like, just stop with that, please. With that, we have run through the New Year's Eve kicks. I appreciate it. I appreciate all the growth on the channel. Again, I'm not... I understand I'm never going to be doing the numbers of the hype channels. I don't talk about the hype stuff. So it'll never be for the clicks. It'll never be for any of that. It's just for the love of footwear, love of shoes, talking good information, telling you what I know, talking about the fashion as dictated by the function. So I do firmly believe in form following function, and then a little bit of fashion dashed in on the side. That's what you're always going to get from me. I appreciate you rocking with me. Please come back through. We'll try and do a lot more stuff in 23. Work on maybe expanding the format a little bit, but I always want it to be just a straight up conversation between shoe lovers, you and me. I appreciate you coming through. Peace.